Indian Subcontinent, History of India, Part 5. The Bhakti movement refers to the theistic devotional trend that emerged in medieval Hinduism and later revolutionized in Sikhism. It originated in the 7th century South India and spread northwards. It swept over East and North India from the 15th century onwards, reaching its zenith between the 15th and 17th century CE. The Bhakti movement regionally developed around different gods and goddesses, such as Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktism, and Smartism. The movement was inspired by many poet-saints, who championed a wide range of philosophical positions ranging from theistic dualism of Dvaita to absolute monism of Advaita Vedanta. Sikhism is based on the spiritual teachings of Guru Nanak, the first Guru, and the 10 successive Sikh Gurus. After the death of the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, the Sikh scripture, Guru Granth Sahib, became the literal embodiment of the eternal, impersonal Guru, where the scripture's word serves as the spiritual guide for Sikhs. Buddhism in India flourished in the Himalayan kingdoms of Namgyal Kingdom in Ladakh, Sikkim Kingdom in Sikkim, and Chusha Kingdom in Arunachal Pradesh of the late medieval period. The early modern period of Indian history is dated from 1526 CE to 1858 CE, corresponding to the rise and fall of the Mughal Empire, which inherited from the Timurid Renaissance. During this age, India's economy expanded, relative peace was maintained, and arts were patronized. This period witnessed the further development of Indo-Islamic architecture. The growth of Marathas and Sikhs enabled them to rule significant regions of India in the waning days of the Mughal Empire. With the discovery of the Cape Route in the 1500s, the first Europeans to arrive by sea and establish themselves were the Portuguese in Goa and Bombay. In 1526, Babur swept across the Khyber Pass and established the Mughal Empire, which at its zenith covered much of South Asia. However, his son Humayun was defeated by the Afghan warrior Sher Shah Suri in 1540, and Humayun was forced to retreat to Kabul. After Sher Shah's death, his son Islam Shah Suri and his Hindu general Hemu Vikramaditya established secular rule in North India from Delhi until 1556, when Akbar, grandson of Babur, defeated Hemu in the Second Battle of Panipat on the 6th of November 1556 after winning Battle of Delhi. Akbar tried to establish a good relationship with the Hindus. Akbar declared Amri, or non-killing of animals, in the holy days of Jainism. He rolled back the jizya tax for non-Muslims. The Mughal emperors married local royalty, allied themselves with local maharajas, and attempted to fuse their Turco-Persian culture with ancient Indian styles, creating a unique Indo-Persian culture and Indo-Saracenic architecture. Akbar married a Rajput princess, Mariam-uz-Zamani, and they had a son, Jahangir. Jahangir followed his father's policy. The Mughal dynasty ruled most of the Indian subcontinent by 1600. The reign of Shah Jahan was the golden age of Mughal architecture. He erected several large monuments, the most famous of which is the Taj Mahal at Agra. It was one of the largest empires to have existed in the Indian subcontinent and surpassed China to become the world's largest economic power, controlling 24.4% of the world economy and the world leader in manufacturing, producing 25% of global industrial output. The economic and demographic upsurge was stimulated by Mughal agrarian reforms that intensified agricultural production and a relatively high degree of urbanization. The Mughal Empire reached the zenith of its territorial expanse during the reign of Aurangzeb, under whose reign the proto-industrialization led to India surpassing King China as the world's largest economy. Aurangzeb was less tolerant than his predecessors, reintroducing the jizya tax and destroying several historical temples, while at the same time building more Hindu temples than he destroyed, employing significantly more Hindus in his imperial bureaucracy than his predecessors, and advancing administrators based on ability rather than religion. However, he is often blamed for the erosion of the tolerant syncretic tradition of his predecessors, as well as increasing religious controversy and centralization. The English East India Company suffered a defeat in the Anglo-Mughal War. The Mughals suffered several blows due to invasions from Marathas, Rajputs, Jats, and Afghans. In 1737, the Maratha general Bajirao of the Maratha Empire invaded and plundered Delhi. Under the general Amir Khan Amrao al-Uda, the Mughal emperor sent 8,000 troops to drive away the 5,000 Maratha cavalry soldiers. Baji Rao easily routed the novice Mughal general. In 1737, in the final defeat of Mughal Empire, the commander-in-chief of the Mughal army, Nizam-ul-Mulk, was routed at Bhopal by the Maratha army. This essentially brought an end to the Mughal Empire, while Bharatpur state under Jat ruler Suraj Mal overran the Mughal garrison at Agra and plundered the city. In 1739, Nader Shah, emperor of Iran, defeated the Mughal army at the Battle of Karnal. After this victory, Nader captured and sacked Delhi, carrying away treasures including the Peacock Throne. Mughal rule was further weakened by constant native Indian resistance. Banda Singh Bahadur led the Sikh Khalsa against Mughal religious oppression. Hindu Rajas of Bengal, Pratapaditya and Raja Sitaram Ray revolt, and Maharaja Ch. Hatrazal of Bundela Rajputs fought the Mughals and established the Pan estate. The Mughal dynasty was reduced to puppet rulers by 1757. That Galakhara took place under the Muslim provincial government based at Lahore to wipe out the Sikhs, with 30,000 Sikhs being killed, an offensive that had begun with the Mughals, with the Chhota Galakhara, and lasted several decades under its Muslim successor states. The Maratha kingdom was founded and consolidated by Chhatrapati Shivaji. However, the credit for making the Marathas formidable power nationally goes to Peshwa Bajirao I. Historian K.K. Datta wrote that Bajirao I may very well be regarded as the second founder of the Maratha Empire. In the early 18th century, under the Peshwas, the Marathas consolidated and ruled over much of South Asia. The Marathas are credited to a large extent for ending Mughal rule in India. In 1737, the Marathas defeated a Mughal army in their capital, in the Battle of Delhi. The Marathas continued their military campaigns against the Mughals, Nawab of Bengal and the Durrani Empire to further extend their boundaries. By 1760, the domain of the Marathas stretched across most of the Indian subcontinent. The Marathas even attempted to capture Delhi and discussed putting Vishwasrao Peshwa on the throne there in place of the Mughal emperor. The Maratha Empire at its peak stretched from Tamil Nadu in the south to Peshawar, modern-day Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan, in the north, and Bengal in the east. The northwestern expansion of the Marathas was stopped after the Third Battle of Panipat. However, the Maratha authority in the north was re-established within a decade under Peshwa Madhavrao I. Under Madhavrao I, the strongest knights were granted semi-autonomy, creating a confederacy of united Maratha states under the Gaekwads of Baroda, the Holkars of Indore and Malwa, the Scindias of Gwalior and Ujjain, the Bonsales of Nagpur and the Pewars of Dihar and Dewas. In 1775, the East India Company intervened in a Peshwa family succession struggle in Pune, which led to the First Anglo-Maratha War, resulting in a Maratha victory. The Marathas remained a major power in India until their defeat in the Second and Third Anglo-Maratha Wars. The Sikh Empire was a political entity that governed the northwestern regions of the Indian subcontinent, based around the Punjab region, from 1799 to 1849. It was forged on the foundations of the Khalsa under the leadership of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Maharaja Ranjit Singh consolidated much of northern India into an empire using his Sikh Khalsa army, trained in European military techniques and equipped with modern military technologies. Ranjit Singh proved himself to be a master strategist and selected well-qualified generals for his army. He successfully ended the Afghan-Sikh wars. In stages, he added central Punjab, the provinces of Multan and Kashmir, and the Peshawar Valley to his empire. At its peak in the 19th century, the empire extended from the Khyber Pass in the west to Kashmir in the north to Sindh in the south, running along Sutlej River to Himachal in the east. After the death of Ranjit Singh, the empire weakened, leading to conflict with the British East India Company. The First Anglo-Sikh War and Second Anglo-Sikh War marked the downfall of the Sikh Empire, making it among the last areas of the Indian subcontinent to be conquered by the British. The Kingdom of Mysore in southern India expanded to its greatest extent under Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan in the later half of the 18th century. Under their rule, Mysore fought series of wars against the Marathas and British or their combined forces. The Maratha-Mysore War ended in April 1787, following the finalizing of Treaty of Gajendra, in which Tipu Sultan was obligated to pay tribute to the Marathas. Concurrently, the Anglo-Mysore Wars took place, where the Mysoreans used the Mysorean rockets. The Fourth Anglo-Mysore War saw the death of Tipu. Mysore's alliance with the French was seen as a threat to the British East India Company, and Mysore was attacked from all four sides. The Nizam of Hyderabad and the Marathas launched an invasion from the north. The British won a decisive victory at the Siege of Seringapatam. Hyderabad was founded by the Qutb Shahi dynasty of Golconda in 1591. Following a brief Mughal rule, Asif Jah, a Mughal official, seized control of Hyderabad and declared himself Nizam al-Mulk of Hyderabad in 1724. The Nizams lost considerable territory and paid tribute to the Maratha Empire after being routed in multiple battles, such as the Battle of Palkht. However, the Nizams maintained their sovereignty from 1724 until 1948 through paying tributes to the Marathas, and later, being vassals of the British. Hyderabad state became a princely state in British India in 1798. The Nawabs of Bengal had become the de facto rulers of Bengal following the decline of Mughal Empire. However, their rule was interrupted by Marathas, who carried out 6 expeditions in Bengal from 1741 to 1748, as a result of which Bengal became a tributary state of Marathas. On the 23rd of June 1757, Suraj ud-Dawla, the last independent Nawab of Bengal, was betrayed in the Battle of Plassey by Mir Jafar. He lost to the British, who took over the charge of Bengal in 1757, installed Mir Jafar on the masthead, and established itself to a political power in Bengal. In 1765, the system of dual government was established, in which the Nawabs ruled on behalf of the British and were mere puppets to the British. In 1772, the system was abolished, and Bengal was brought under the direct control of the British. In 1793, when the Nizamat of the Nawab was also taken away, they remained as mere pensioners of the British East India Company. In the 18th century, the whole of Rajputana was virtually subdued by the Marathas. The Second Anglo-Maratha War distracted the Marathas from 1807 to 1809, but afterward Maratha domination of Rajputana resumed. In 1817, the British went to war with the Pindaris, raiders who were fled in Maratha territory, which quickly became the Third Anglo-Maratha War, and the British government offered its protection to the Rajput rulers from the Pindaris and the Marathas. By the end of 1818, similar treaties had been executed between the other Rajput states and Britain. The Maratha Sindhia ruler of Gwalior gave up the district of Ajmer-Matwara to the British, and Maratha influence in Rajasthan came to an end. Most of the Rajput princes remained loyal to Britain in the revolt of 1857, and few political changes were made in Rajputana until Indian independence in 1947. The Rajputana Agency contained more than 20 princely states, most notable being Udaipur State, Jaipur State, Bikaner State, and Jodhpur State. After the fall of the Maratha Empire, many Maratha dynasties and states became vassals in a subsidiary alliance with the British. With the decline of the Sikh Empire, after the First Anglo-Sikh War in 1846, under the terms of the Treaty of Amritsar, the British government sold Kashmir to Maharaja Gulab Singh, and the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, the second largest princely state in British India, was created by the Dogra dynasty. While in eastern and northeastern India, the Hindu and Buddhist states of Cooch Behar Kingdom, Twipur Kingdom, and Kingdom of Sikkim were annexed by the British and made vassal princely state. After the fall of the Vijayanagara Empire, Palagar states emerged in southern India and managed to weather invasions and flourished until the Palagar Wars, where they were defeated by the British East India Company forces. Around the 18th century, the Kingdom of Nepal was formed by Rajput rulers. In 1498, a Portuguese fleet under Vasco da Gama discovered a new sea route from Europe to India, which paved the way for direct Indo-European commerce. The Portuguese soon set up trading posts in Velha Goa, Daman, Diu Island, and Bombay. The Portuguese instituted the Goa Inquisition, where new Indian converts were punished for suspected heresy against Christianity, and non-Christians were condemned. Goa remained the main Portuguese territory until it was annexed by India in 1961. The next to arrive were the Dutch, with their main base in Ceylon. They established ports in Malabar. However, their expansion into India was halted after their defeat in the Battle of Colachel by the Kingdom of Travancore during the Travancore-Dutch War. The Dutch never recovered from the defeat and no longer posed a large colonial threat to India. The internal conflicts among Indian kingdoms gave opportunities to the European traders to gradually establish political influence and appropriate lands. Following the Dutch, the British, who set up in the west coast port of Surat in 1619, and the French both established trading outposts in India. Although these continental European powers controlled various coastal regions of southern and eastern India during the ensuing century, they eventually lost all their territories in India to the British, with the exception of the French outposts of Pondicherry and Chandernagore, and the Portuguese colonies of Goa, Daman, and Diu. The English East India Company was founded in 1600. It gained a foothold in India with the establishment of a factory in Masulipatnam on the eastern coast of India, 1611, and a grant of rights by the Mughal Emperor Jahangir to establish a factory in Surat in 1612. In 1640, after receiving similar permission from the Vijayanagara ruler farther south, a second factory was established in Madras on the southeastern coast. The islet of Bombay in present-day Mumbai was a Portuguese outpost not far from Surat. It was presented to Charles II of England as dowry in his marriage to Catherine of Braganza. Charles in turn leased Bombay to the company in 1668. 2 decades later, the company established a trade post in the river Ganges Delta. During this time, other companies established by the Portuguese, Dutch, French, and Danish were similarly expanding in the subcontinent. the company's victory under Robert Clive in the 1757 Battle of Plassey, and another victory in the 1764 Battle of Buxar, consolidated the company's power and forced Emperor Shah Alam II to appoint it the Diwan, or revenue collector, of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. The company thus became the de facto ruler of large areas of the lower Gangetic Plain by 1773. It also proceeded by degrees to expand its dominions around Bombay and Madras. The Anglo-Mysore Wars and the Anglo-Maratha Wars left it in control of large areas of India south of the Sutlej River. With the defeat of the Marathas, no native power represented a threat for the company any longer. The first of these was the outright annexation of Indian states and subsequent direct governance of the underlying regions that collectively came to comprise British India. The annexed regions included the northwestern provinces, Delhi, Assam and Sindh. Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, and Kashmir were annexed after the Anglo-Sikh Wars in 1849-56. However, Kashmir was immediately sold under the Treaty of Amritsar to the Dogra dynasty of Jammu and thereby became a princely state. In 1854, Berar was annexed along with the state of Oudh 2 years later. The second form of asserting power involved treaties in which Indian rulers acknowledged the company's hegemony in return for limited internal autonomy. Since the company operated under financial constraints, it had to set up political underpinnings for its rule. The most important such support came from the subsidiary alliances with Indian princes. In the early 19th century, the territories of these princes accounted for 2/3 of India. When an Indian ruler who was able to secure his territory wanted to enter such an alliance, the company welcomed it as an economical method of indirect rule that did not involve the economic costs of direct administration or the political costs of gaining the support of alien subjects. In return, the company undertook the defense of these subordinate allies and treated them with traditional respect and marks of honor. Subsidiary alliances created the princely states of the Hindu Maharajas and the Muslim Nawabs. Prominent among the princely states were Cochin, Jaipur, Travancore, Hyderabad, Mysore, Cis-Sutlej Hill States, Central India Agency, Kutch and Gujarat Gaikwad Territories, Rajputana and Bahawalpur. Soon we will publish Part 6. Thank you for watching.